I tried waking up, but it felt like I was trying to wake up from sleep paralysis, and couldn't get up. I screamed, "Get off me," and woke up just in time to dodge an attack aimed at my head. I turned to see a shadow goblin with a dagger in my pillow. As the goblin retrieved the dagger from the pillow, and was about to disappear, I jumped on it. We landed on the floor hard. I was in pain, but I wasn't going to let it get away. Before it could get away, I started to choke it. The shadow goblin was putting up a good fight, but if let it go it would attack me again in my sleep. I was not going to let that happen. While strangling the shadow goblin, the dagger in its hand fell. There came my chance to kill it faster, since strangling it would take too long. I grabbed the dagger from the floor. When the goblin saw me pick it up, it started to panic. It was fighting me so hard that it almost escaped. I tightened my arms around its neck, brought the dagger up and stabbed at its heart. If I could see the goblin's face, I would see the despair in its eyes. When the dagger landed on the shadow goblin's chest, the dagger didn't fully go in. The shadow goblin's defenses was very abnormally strong. I didn't let my failure get the better of me, so I raised the dagger up ready for my next strike. I struck at the goblin's chest again and again to no avail. I hadn't recovered enough strength for my dagger to pierce the goblin's heart. The despair in the goblin's eyes started to recede with every hit dealt. It was starting to regain its confidence back. The shadow goblin stopped resisting altogether in order for it to save its strength for one last-ditch effort to escape. I was stabbing at the goblin's heart for the nth amount times. My arms were starting to get tired, while my strength was slowly leaving me. When I saw the goblin stopped resisting, I started to think that my stabbing was having an effect. What I couldn't see was the goblin had a cunning look in its eyes. I kept stabbing and stabbing until I felt like I had made some leeway. The dagger pierced the goblin's chest enough times for the dagger to go in slightly. I was beyond happy my useless actions were finally getting somewhere. Suddenly the shadow goblin's body went limp. I was surprised, but I wasn't sure if the goblin was truly dead or not. I stabbed at its chest a couple more times just in case. The shadow goblin had its eyes closed, biding its time for its chance to come. The excruciating amount of pain it was feeling kept its mind alert, while giving it an immense amount of hatred. The goblin vowed to give Jason an extremely slow, cruel and gruesome death. The goblin smiled to itself, thinking that it was clever. Jason had no way of knowing the goblin's thoughts. If he did, he would be more prudent by calling April to help. Seeing the goblin stop moving, I thought the goblin was finally near death. I let my arms go from around its neck and pushed the goblin off me. I felt relief when I was finally about to end this night raid. As I got up, the goblin suddenly opened its eyes and gave me a toothy, resentment-filled smile. I could see it in its eyes, the hatred it had for me. I knew from now on if I didn't kill it, I wouldn't have an easy time. As the goblin was smiling maliciously at me, it started to merge into the shadows. Just before it could fully disappear, April came out of nowhere and smashed its head with the modified wooden club. The goblin screamed a shrill scream, dazed and confused about what happened. The goblin was so focused on its resentment towards me that it didn't see April coming, and neither did I. When the pain from getting its head smashed started to fade, the goblin looked over to see what hit it. When the goblin saw April, it had despair in its eyes. April brought her club it and slammed it down continuously. Bam! 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 Hit after hit landed on the goblin's head. The goblin couldn't do anything except accept the blows and scream. The goblin's screams started to get softer and softer and softer until we couldn't hear its screams anymore. All the while the goblin's blood was slashing all over my body. I felt my body getting stronger, and my reasoning started to fade. All I could see was endless amount of blood. With one last shred of my will, I looked at my hands before screaming. I pounced on the corpse of the dead goblin and started punching. I felt my body throwing out the punches and them connecting, but I couldn't control my body to stop. It felt like I was a foreigner in my own body. I was capable of thought, but wasn't able to implement it. My uncontrollable body stopped wailing on the dead goblin's corpse and turned to face April. I had a crazed smile on my face filled with bloodlust. I stared at her for a good 2 seconds before I pounced at her. April dropped the club in her hands and quickly got into a horse stance. I threw a fast jab aimed at her face. April reacted fast, catching my wrist in mid-punch. She maneuvered herself into my guard so fast it didn't seem humanly possible. Through the whole ordeal, my arm somehow ended up on her shoulder with both her hands on my wrist. April never let go of my wrist the entire time. April then pulled my wrist down. With me in mid-motion and the force April applied to my wrist, I was flipped over her shoulder, landing on the ground with a bang. All the air in my lungs were knocked out. I couldn't breathe for a couple of seconds and everything went black. I couldn't see, and I couldn't breathe, so for a couple of seconds I thought I was dead. Until my sense of pain came back with a vengeance. My body was racked with pain. From my legs to my back, all I felt was burning pain. The only good thing that happened from this ordeal was me gaining the control over my body. I raised my arms and told April, "I'm good. I'm good. I'm good, don't hit me anymore." "What happened to you? You started to go all crazy, even worse than usual," asked April, with some visible concern on her face. In all the novels I've read, the main character always kept a part of them a secret. That secret usually made them OP compared to their counterparts. At this moment I decided to go against that logic. Besides, the title I gained wasn't OP enough. It hardly qualified to be useful, so telling April the truth wasn't against any principles. With nothing holding me back, I told her everything. "Do you remember the first time I had killed the goblin and started taking out my anger on it? Well, what you didn't know was when I was doing that I heard this notification sound in my head. When I first heard the sound, I didn't do anything since I was still beating on the goblin. After beating up the goblin and going to your place, I looked at what the notification sound was talking about. When I looked at it, I saw that I level up and I earned a title. That title was called Madness. The description behind it was kind of vague, but the gist of it was that when a certain amount of blood gets on me, I would go crazy. Starting from the time I received that title, it never activated until just now, when you was caving the goblin's head in." I told April just about everything I knew from the title. It seems that you can't control yourself at all when your title activates. I also noticed it didn't activate when we were fighting in the hallway. Maybe we should see in what situation we have to be in for it to activate, said April after contemplating on the issue. After hearing her out, I told her, "There's still one problem that we'll have to resolve to make your plan work. When the title activates, I can't control my body at all, and I don't want to hurt you if I lose control. You're sort of right, but as long as I'm with you, it won't matter if you lose control or not. I'll stop you from doing something you'll regret," said April with a reassuring smile. Thanks for watching.